remember to turn on all notifications so you don't miss a video. In psychology, id is defined as the part of the mind in which innate instinctive impulses and primary processes are manifest. And ego is defined as the part of the person's mind that acts as a self-critical conscious, reflecting social standards learned from parents and teachers. I believe that all writers have an id writer and a superego writer within them. The id writer writes whatever they feel like writing with no second thought. This is the side that comes up with set pieces and moments, a concept I analyzed in other videos. This is the side that creates the cool parts of the story. The superego writer writes what's best for the story. This is the writer that brings consistency and balance to the cool parts, but also removes what is unnecessary and keeps what is best for the story. As a writer, you have to find a balance. I believe that the correct balance is to have all of your id's ideas filtered through the superego about 90% of the time. My Naruto reboot is a great example of what the war between id and superego looks like. When I edited Naruto's story, I wrote it with more dominance for my superego than Kishimoto did, and there are times where this results in a lamer scene than the original story, but a positive effect on the consistency of the story. My first example is Naruto vs. Gaara. In the original, Naruto summons 1000 clones and gives Gaara a beatdown. Then he summons Gamabunta to fight the Shukaku. Then he transforms the Toad into the Kyuubi, and there is a battle between tailed beasts. Finally, he takes down Gaara one-on-one. This is epic. Naruto gets to show off his jutsu, kick some butt, have a tailed beast battle, and defeat Gaara on his own. In my version, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all work together to fight Gaara in his version 1 cloak. They primarily use taijutsu until Gaara turns into the One-Tails. The team find a way to jump on the beast's head, and the other two clear a path so that Naruto can headbutt Gaara and wake him up. This is a lot less cooler than what was in the original, but this decision keeps the power escalation in check if you watch the whole reboot. Next is Naruto vs. Pain. In the original, Naruto takes on all 6 Pains at the same time and kills them one by one with his amazing strategies. It's a remarkable fight. In my version, the former rookies split up into teams and each kill their Pain until there's only one left. The tactics I was still able to keep pre-6 Tails were Naruto turning into a Rasen Shuriken against Preta, Naruto letting Preta absorb his Sage energy, Naruto expanding his Rasen Shuriken, and Smokescreen to double Rasengan. But in the last 2 examples, those tactics didn't kill anyone, unlike in the original. I made these changes for balancing reasons and to include the other allies. This was still pretty cool, but I sacrificed Naruto's shine to spread it to others, which is not as cool as Naruto soloing the 6. But sometimes, my super ego's balancing and consistency resulted in cooler action. My first example is Sakura and Chio vs. Sasori. In that fight, I replaced Sakura's enhanced strength with Chakra Scalpel, Genjutsu, and Water Style, so the fight is a little more creative. And in Sasuke vs. Itachi, the fight is almost only enhanced, and I might even enhance it more in a rewrite. I added new phases to the battle, gave Sasuke and Itachi new jutsus, showed off some elemental advantage strategies, and even Sage mode. Now, I'll go over some scenes from other manga that are overindulgent due to id. Spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen, Fairy Tail, and One Punch Man. In Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 150 and 151, there is a scene where Maki slaughters a bunch of her clan members. In 150, she goes untouched and kills a bunch of people. There's even a group called the Hei, which are supposed to be the strongest Zenin sorcerers. They barely get to show off their powers before they are killed too. Their powers are shown for literally 6 pages. In 151, she fights the head of the Hei. He uses his powers, but we've already seen those same powers used by someone else in an earlier arc and by him in a different arc. Naoya gets in some hits and his ability is dived into deeper, but then he's one-shotted by the end of the chapter. The problem with this chapter is that it comes off as the author's id thinking, let me make Maki look cool, and the superego barely intervening. The good that came from this fight was Naoya's abilities being explained more, but the bad was Maki killing a bunch of fodder with little to no difficulty, and the wasting of the Hei. All of the characters murdered in 150 were complete jobbers. The Hei are even hyped up only to be killed in 6 pages. Their abilities are barely tapped into, not even named, and go to waste. The worst part is how she takes no damage in the chapter. By having her completely stomp these fodder, by having all of the positives in the fight go to her, it feels like the id is trying its best to make her look as cool as possible, but without the help of the superego, it comes off as forced and corny and ultimately backfires for me. Watch my video comparing Pop and Hyunkel from Dragon Quest for a similar situation. There, the author's id also bends over backwards to make a character seem cool, but the lack of superego makes the character very dislikable. The fight also suffers from a lack of back and forth tides. My next example is from Fairy Tail. In chapter 466, God Serena faces off against the 4 gods of Ishkar, who are supposed to be some of the strongest wizards in the story. In chapter 469, we cut back to the fight and the 4 wizards are beaten up on the floor, while an unscathed Serena mocks them. In the next chapter, they fight back a little, each one using 1 spell, but then Serena comes back and whoops them with his magic. Additionally, Draculos and Wolfheim, the top 2 of the 4, have only been shown using the one spell that each uses in this fight for the entire story. These are supposed to be some of the elites in the story, but because Mashima wanted fodder and his superego didn't check in, we don't really see how strong they are. Once again, the id wanted to show a character was cool, but it didn't work because the superego didn't put in the effort. The story just takes powerful characters who aren't main ones and uses them as jobbers to make another character look cooler. Most of the positives go to Serena. The manga one-ups itself a few chapters later when Acnologia shows up and one-shots Serena. That's a double jobber right there. Same problems as last time, except all of the positives go to Acnologia. Serena doesn't even get to shine. A well-done example of the same one versus many fight is Garo versus the 8 heroes. By the end of the fight, it becomes clear that the scene has the same goal, but its execution has class and dignity. In this fight, Garo doesn't just overperform and wipe the floor with his utterly useless opponents. In fact, he's getting whooped at the start. I felt embarrassed for him when he was getting handled by the Gohan lookalike. There are positives that go to his opponents in this fight, but as the fight went on, Garo used strategy and skill in order to slowly defeat his opponents one by one. That struggle is what gives this fight class. Just like Pop from Dragon Quest, the id had Garo soloing 8 heroes. The superego had him struggle. Finally, there's one more example. The Bleach character by the name Hikone Ubuginu is the most egregious example. This is a character from Can't Fear Your Own World. The first time I looked up her abilities, I had a cringe attack. Get this, she has Shinigami powers, Arrancar powers, Quincy powers, and Fullbring powers. Now you might be thinking, so does Ichigo, but A, Ichigo gets them over time, not all at once, and B, Ichigo only dabbles in each of the other powers. Hikone has full mastery of these classes. She has a Zanpakuto, Hakuda, Shunpo, Senka, Sonido, Hiero, Gran Rey Cero, Descorer, Blute Vein, and Artery, Hirenkyaku, Heilig, Bogen, and Pafile, and Bringer Light. She has nearly every ability each class has to offer. Ichigo did not. From Hollows, he only got Gran Rey Cero in his final battle. From Quincy's, he only had Blute Vein. From Fullbrings, he had Bringer Light, but then he lost those powers. Ichigo and basically every other character is what you get when you show restraint. Hikone is what you get when you take off all restraints and do whatever sounds cool. It ends up sounding like fanfiction with no class. In conclusion, writers need to balance their id and superego sides, because both are necessary for telling an entertaining and consistent story. If the id is overwhelming, the story will have a lot of cool moments, but little consistency or class. If the superego is overwhelming, then the story will be well structured and technically sound, but it will lack entertainment. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.